Soo Kai and Tan Songyun shock fans with public kiss. Relationship finally exposed. No one expected it to happen this way. Not under blinding lights. Not with dozens of cameras flashing. Not in front of an industry that had spent years dissecting every glance, every step, every breath they took together. But when Soo Kai leaned down and kissed Tan Songyun, soft, unguarded, unmistakably real, the world stopped pretending. And just like that, everything changed. The night had started like any other public appearance. A charity event, a red carpet, polite smiles, carefully measured distance. Soo Kai arrived first, dressed in classic black, his expression calm but distant. Tan Songyun followed moments later, radiant in white, her smile warm yet restrained. To outsiders, they looked like colleagues, close, familiar, but controlled. Fans noticed the tension immediately. Something was different. They stood side by side for photos, shoulders nearly touching, fingers brushing once, twice, then pulling away. Their eyes met more often than necessary. Their smiles lingered longer than usual. It felt like a storm building beneath a calm sky. The questions came fast during interviews. Are you working on a new project together? Any chance of a collaboration this year? Your chemistry is still amazing. How do you keep it professional? Soo Kai answered smoothly, but his gaze kept drifting toward Tan Songyun, as if making sure she was still there. Tan Songyun laughed politely, but her hands trembled just slightly as she held the microphone. Years of hiding had trained them well. But that night, restraint was slipping. The moment came unexpectedly. As the event drew to a close, organizers asked for one final group photo. The crowd surged forward. Cameras raised. Voices shouted their names. In the chaos, someone stumbled. Tan Songyun lost her balance. Before anyone else could react, Soo Kai caught her. Not by the arm. Not politely. He pulled her fully into his chest. The crowd gasped. Time seemed to freeze as Tan Songyun looked up at him, eyes wide, breath caught between surprise and something far deeper, something that had been held back for far too long. Soo Kai didn't let go. Instead, he lifted a hand to her face, thumb brushing away a tear no one realized had fallen. And then, without warning, without permission from the world watching, he kissed her. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't exaggerated. It was tender, protective, certain. A kiss that said, "I'm done hiding." For a split second, the crowd was silent. Then everything exploded. Screams. Shouts. Cameras clicking like wildfire. Tan Songyun froze at first, stunned by the boldness of it. Then her hands clutched his coat, and she kissed him back, softly, but with undeniable emotion. When they finally pulled apart, her eyes were wet, her cheeks flushed. Soo Kai rested his forehead against hers, shielding her from the chaos with his body. "No more," he whispered, loud enough for her alone. She nodded, tears slipping free. Within minutes, the internet was on fire. Did Soo Kai just kiss Tan Songyun? That was real. That wasn't acting. They didn't even try to deny it. Clips spread faster than anyone could control. Fans replayed the moment frame by frame, his hand on her cheek, the way she leaned into him, the look in his eyes that screamed, "This is my person." This wasn't a publicity stunt. This was a confession. Backstage, chaos reigned. Managers panicked. Staff whispered urgently. Phones rang nonstop. But Soo Kai didn't care. He held Tan Songyun's hand firmly, thumb tracing slow circles over her knuckles, grounding her as the world outside spun out of control. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. She nodded, voice shaking. "I'm just scared." He squeezed her hand tighter. "I know, but I won't let them hurt you. Not anymore." She looked at him, eyes searching. "You realize there's no going back after this?" A small smile touched his lips, soft, certain. "I stopped wanting to go back a long time ago." Their joint statement came hours later. Not a denial, not a deflection, just truth. "We didn't plan this moment," it read. "But we're no longer willing to deny what has been real for years. We hope for understanding, but more than that, we hope for kindness." Fans cried reading it. Some from joy, some from shock, some from relief. Because deep down they had always known. Industry insiders weren't surprised. They remembered the way Soo Kai had defended Tan Songyun when she was humiliated on set. The interviews he walked out of when reporters crossed the line. The nights he disappeared from events the moment she left. The quiet consistency of choosing her again and again when no one was watching. The kiss wasn't the beginning. It was the end of pretending. The backlash came, as expected. Critics questioned timing. Skeptics accused them of manipulation. Some fans felt betrayed, projecting their fantasies onto a love that had never belonged to them. But Soo Kai stood firm. In his next appearance, he said only one thing: "I've spent years protecting my career. This time, I chose to protect my heart." Tan Songyun stood beside him, hand in his, no longer hiding. Late that night, away from the noise, they sat together on a quiet balcony overlooking the city. Tan Songyun rested her head on his shoulder, exhaustion finally catching up. "Do you regret it?" she asked softly. Soo Kai kissed her hair. "Regret?" He shook his head. "I regret not doing it sooner." She smiled through tears. "The world feels louder now." He wrapped his arms around her, holding her close. "Then let me be the quiet for you." By morning, the headlines had changed tone. "A love years in the making." "When courage beats fear." Soo Kai and Tan Songyun choose love, publicly. Fan edits flooded timelines. Old moments resurfaced. Hidden glances suddenly made sense. The kiss hadn't created the story. It revealed it. And as the sun rose on a world still buzzing from shock, Soo Kai and Tan Songyun stepped into a new chapter. Hand in hand, hearts exposed, no longer bound by secrecy. For the first time, their love wasn't whispered. It was seen. And no matter what came next, one truth was undeniable. This wasn't a scandal. This was destiny, finally unmasked. The night didn't end with the kiss. If anything, that was only the first crack in a dam that had been holding back years of silence. Long after the cameras were ushered out and the venue lights dimmed, Soo Kai and Tan Songyun were still inside the building, seated in a quiet corridor reserved for performers, the kind of place where echoes linger and secrets usually stay hidden. Except there's no longer could. Tan Songyun sat with her hands folded tightly in her lap, her breathing uneven. The adrenaline that had carried her through the moment was draining fast, leaving behind vulnerability, raw and exposed. Soo Kai noticed immediately. He crouched in front of her, lowering himself until their eyes met, his voice gentle but steady. "Look at me." She did. Her eyes were glossy, not with fear this time, but with the weight of everything they had just unleashed. "You didn't panic," he said softly. "You didn't pull away." She swallowed. "Because I was tired of lying." That answer hit him harder than any headline ever could. Outside, chaos grew. Security teams argued. Managers whispered urgently into phones. Someone mentioned contract clauses. Another mentioned damage control. Soo Kai stood up before anyone could approach them. "There's nothing to fix," he said calmly. "This isn't a mistake." The room went silent. Tan Songyun stood beside him, instinctively reaching for his sleeve. He took her hand instead, openly, deliberately, and didn't let go. "If this is going to be a problem," he continued, eyes unwavering, "then let it be my problem, not hers." No one argued. Because for the first time, Soo Kai wasn't negotiating. He was declaring. When they finally left the venue, fans were still waiting. Some cried when they saw them. Some screamed their names. Some just stared, stunned. Soo Kai didn't rush past. He stopped. And once again, without scripts, without rehearsals, he made a choice. He lifted their joined hands. Not dramatically. Not defiantly. Just enough for everyone to see. The crowd erupted. Tan Songyun's breath caught. She leaned closer to him instinctively, overwhelmed by the noise, the attention, the permanence of it all. Soo Kai tilted his head toward her, voice barely audible. "Stay with me." She nodded. "Always." That single image, hands raised, fingers intertwined, became the most shared photo of the night. More than the kiss. Because it wasn't about passion anymore. It was about commitment. Hours later, in the quiet safety of Soo Kai's car, the world finally faded into silence. Songyun rested her forehead against the window, watching city lights blur past. "Do you know what they'll say tomorrow?" she asked quietly. Soo Kai smiled faintly. "They'll say everything." She laughed weakly. "I don't think I'm ready to read it." "Then don't," he said. "I'll read it for you. I'll filter the noise." She turned to him then, eyes searching. "And if it gets bad?" He didn't hesitate. "Then we get bad together." The next morning, the fallout arrived like a tidal wave. Entertainment sites crashed under traffic. Clips of the kiss looped endlessly. Comment sections flooded with disbelief, joy, anger, and awe. But one detail kept resurfacing. The way Soo Kai had looked at Songyun afterward. Not triumphant. Not smug. Protective. As if the world could say whatever it wanted, but it would have to go through him first. Songyun woke to dozens of missed calls. She didn't answer. Instead, she sat on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, heart racing. Soo Kai emerged from the kitchen with 2 cups of tea, setting one beside her, without a word. He sat next to her, close enough that their shoulders touched. She exhaled slowly. "I'm scared again." He reached for her hand. "I know, but I don't regret it." He smiled. "Neither do I." They sat in silence, letting that truth settle. By afternoon, the pressure intensified. Requests for statements, demands for clarification, speculation about endorsements, projects, cancellations. Soo Kai answered only once. In a short message posted without embellishment, without apology. "I kissed her because I love her. That's the truth. Everything else is noise." Nothing more. Nothing less. The internet exploded again. But the most powerful moment was in public. It happened that evening, quietly, away from screens. Songyun stood on Soo Kai's balcony, the city stretching endlessly before her. She wrapped her arms around herself, emotions catching up all at once. Soo Kai stepped behind her, enveloping her in a slow, steady embrace. She leaned back into him. "Do you think," she whispered, "that one day this won't feel so heavy?" He rested his chin on her shoulder. "Yes. When we stop measuring love by fear." She turned in his arms, eyes shining. "And if the world never lets up?" His answer was immediate. "Then we build a smaller world. Just us." Her lips trembled into a smile. "You always make it sound simple." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "It is. Loving you was never the hard part." That night, fans noticed something else. Soo Kai stopped following trends. Songyun stopped reposting explanations. Instead, she posted one photo. No captions. No hashtags. Just a quiet image of 2 hands resting together on a table. The same hands that had been raised the night before. The response was overwhelming. Not outrage. Not disappointment. Support. Because for the first time, their love didn't feel like a fantasy. It felt human. And somewhere between the noise and the calm, between fear and courage, Soo Kai and Songyun crossed an invisible line. There was no turning back now. But neither of them wanted to. Because that kiss hadn't just exposed a relationship. It had freed them. And whatever came next, scandal, silence, storms, or sunshine, they would face it the same way they had faced the world that night. Together. Unhidden. Unapologetic. And finally real.